So moving forwards to Tuesday, because it was Sunday when I did the video about doing the Nissan Leaf. The plug has duly arrived, and that is in that packet there. And sat at Mr Chippie's bench is Mr Chippie, and he is going to put that kind of plug on. Not necessarily on video, but we are using the RS 6mm cable, which is sold as RG58, but is commercial grade, which we know works up to 1 gig. And Mr Chippie will show you how much meat is on the braiding, because you know there's a lot of cheap coax out there, which, well, we've seen some with a thin copper foil and about 3 strands of wire, and 2 meters of that on a mag mount, and you've attenuated most of your signal. So if Mr Chippie doesn't cut his fingers off, I will stick it down on the thing, and then we can just we'll zoom in on that, and hopefully the viewers can see that that is quite a tightly wound cable. Just poke at it so you.
I'll try doing my right hand, and then you can see quite a bit of cable on there.
Just down a bit, please, and I'll just go back in. So I'll get Mr C to put that plug on, and we'll show it you kind of before it's quite finished. Meanwhile, I'll just show you the reel of cable we're using. Unfortunately, this is only available to the trade, but if you have a friendly shop who does RS, then they may well buy something in for you for a small markup. But over the years we've done business two-way radio, this is what we have used, and the secret in good range is very low loss. Okay, so now he's got the lead prepared, so it's a matter of, does it screw up that
it
on this version?
And you can see I've cut the braid back to a point where it stops just there. You leave yourself enough of the inner to solder onto that little point in there.
Right.
So it's just a case of screwing it on now and soldering it up. I'll show it after it's on there, I think.
Normally when you drop things, you drop them inside a live power supply, and the viewers enjoy that.
Yeah. As we can see, the inner's coming up now. I think that's as much as we want. I'll see if I'll go a bit further.
Right, just lower it down so we're in the, and I'll just zoom in on that. And then that's soldered.
Which is a job for 3 hands. But there we go.
So there we are with it soldered in place. Okay, and there we are with the dust cap all fitted. We're not going to, we don't put the other end on until we're in the car, because we want to run an exact length through the car, and of course it's all got to go through the headlining and the various pillars. Sorry about the background noise, we just decided to put the air conditioning on in here. So meanwhile, the next day, Mr Chippie, if you can see that lead moving, he is putting on a compression type PL259 for the 70cm amateur radio rig. And well, we put that in whilst the roof lining was kind of out. So Mr Chippie took the grasp handles off, and at that side too, and then I took that centre light console-y thing out, and we put a panorama business radio mount and aerial on, which will SWR for 70 centimetres diameter. And whilst we got the bonnet up and still in our mind, I'm just running in a 18 amp cable there for the 77's radio. Although the radio we intend to use is 15 watts, that'll be fused at 10 amps. When Mr Chirpie put that aerial on the CB base, which was one of these Red Thunder, which is a bit of a modulator lookalike, I didn't realise that was just for helping us tighten it up. We are putting a brand new one on, which is here in its packet, so we'll be able to show you that being SWR'd. Now some of these come out of the packet without needing any adjustment whatsoever, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. And yes, we do have modulator aerials. Somebody did raise that thing. When I was at Nottingham Radio, we used to spend £1,000 a month with Les Wallen, and I think the aerials are absolutely excellent. But that one we've just put on the front of the car for ham radio is a panorama one because it was to hand.
Is your tape full?
Yeah. Okay, so we've put it on the MFJ 269C SWR analyzer, and we've got this set to 27.7 something. Centre of the band is 27.79125 in the UK, so that would be channel 20. We tend to use it channel 31, so we use the higher channels. You'll notice when we do the CPT tests we use channel 40, which is something like 27.405, but you'll all know that better than I do. So at the moment we're showing an SWR of 1.3, which is ideal. So with this we can see where it's better and where it's worse. So if I move up the band, you'll see we're going up the band, and when we hit what? 27.9, 27.95, we've gone to SWR of 1.4. So by the time we get to channel 40 we're at 1.4. So if we go down to 60125, which would be channel 1, we're still getting an SWR of 1.3. So as we go into CPT band, as we drop down, channel 40 is an SWR of 1.4. And if we went a bit further down, 1.5, on that would be about channel 17. So this aerial as it comes, and the worst channel would be SWR of 1.6 at channel 1 of CPT. So this aerial is exactly where we want it to be. But supposing you wanted this to be absolutely perfect in the centre of the CPT band for 27.205, then this aerial would need lengthening because the lower frequencies need a slightly longer aerial. Now we've got that whip as low down as it goes, but there's plenty of movement. You could move it up an inch and that would be achievable. What we're going to do now, we'll put it on a more ordinary SWR meter. So moving to a more ordinary SWR meter, we have this for our ham radio activities, and it covers 1.8 to 160 megs. I'm going to cover SWR in a whole video, so we're going to use some really cheap meters, the kind of thing you buy for £9.99. So we're in 5 watt mode, calibrate forward on channel 20.
Yeah, I think I have the power meter off for just doing this one.
Oh yeah. So we're in calibrate, so key up. So we've got we've set it to the calibration mark, then flick it over to SWR, and it's showing, well, 1.3, 1.4 to 1, which is of course what the analyzer was saying. So that proves that one. We can only read power when you've got a dummy load in. It means absolutely nothing. If we put it over to power, just out of interest, we would have to. Do we have to set that, Mr. C?
Yeah, power forward power.
Okay.
So 5 watts scale.
I am, yeah. So it says it's doing 4 watts. Well, the radio's doing about 3.5, so it's a bit generous. But you can't read it without a dummy load in the back. So what we're going to now do is to use a different type of SWR meter, which we bought recently from China. So this is a digital SWR meter, so switch it on. Do you want to key up? Yeah. So it says 2.1 power, and what was that reflect? 1. No, that's the power. Oh, 1:1 reflected. So, oh, power's dropping beautifully. So that's another option. But I say we're going to do some cheap power SWR meters, and they're just a bit like that first one I showed you with the meter. You set them to calibrate and then reflect. So we're now going to plug this aerial into the radio. So there we are, that's all installed. Just need to put a mic clip in there. We'll be putting the 70cm radio in later, that's nothing to do with this video. And the car is put back together. So there we are, we've got the 5/8 over a quarter UHF on the front, on a panorama mount, and the Red Thunder copy of a modulator on the centre roof mount, which is a Stereo type 3/8 stud. So we're going to be doing a video aimed at beginners choosing a basic radio. I mean, at the end of the day, they all do the same range. Doesn't matter whether you pay £49.95 for one or £200. They all do the same range. You're just paying more features, and some of those with the most features generate a lot of CPU noise, so they don't actually work as well. So there you have it. Thank you for watching.